Hello, everybody. Before we jump into today's episode, we have two sponsors we want to say thank you to for supporting this show. The first one is Routine. You guys have heard me talk about Routine, honestly, back from the early days of the podcast, and it's still a product I use every single morning. They have a prompt for me here. I'm going to do a little impromptu on this ad read today because honestly, this is a product that I truly believe in. And so I'm just going to tell you guys exactly what I think and why. First and foremost, this is a stat that they shared, but when you sleep, you lose between a pound and a pound and a half of water. And most of that's just sweating while you sleep. I used to not know if that was actually true, to be honest. I felt like a pound to a pound and a half of water seemed like quite a bit while I slept. But the one thing I did constantly pay attention to when I started using Routine was just the fact that before using Routine, I always felt a little dehydrated in the morning. And I'm one of those people that when I get up really early usually. I work out. One of the first things I do is some form of fitness. It's just like what I do before everyone's awake. And so it's very easy for me to grab a coffee, pre-workout, an energy drink, something with caffeine in it, and just go. When I am good about using Routine, first, I basically they come in these little single serve packets. They contain half an organic lemon, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, Himalayan sea salt, all 6 essential electrolytes, and they have no sugar in them at all. A lot of hydration products are going to have sugar. So one of the things about Routine that I love is that there's no sugar in there. So when I am good about doing this consistently, I will take one of those single serve packets, I'll throw it in my mixer bottle, and whether I also put in a pre-workout or something with caffeine or I just drink that separately, I try to drink that first. And the days I do that, I do genuinely feel hydrated and just have a different form of clarity all morning. A lot of people have tried to make their own homemade versions of Routine, right? You see people they take a shot of the apple cider vinegar, they put a little sea salt, a little lemon in a drink. This is essentially that, but in a product that you can take with you on the go, have it ready for you first thing in the morning. I know me personally, when I'm groggy rolling out of bed, the last thing I want to do is, squeeze a lemon, cut lemons up, go get the apple cider vinegar, find my sea salt. I just rip this packet open, throw it in my water, drink it, and it's good to go. You can try yours today. If you haven't tried it yet and you've been listening to this podcast for years, just try the damn Routine. Give it a shot. You can use code ShaneWhite30 and get 30% off your first order. So you get 30% off by using code ShaneWhite30 and go to yourroutine.com. To make it even easier, I've added the link to yourroutine.com in the show notes. So just click on the show notes for this episode, click on the link to yourroutine.com, and don't forget to use code ShaneWhite30. All right, guys, today's episode is also brought to you by Neuro Roast. Again, I'm going to go a little off script here. Neuro Roast is a product that I also came across during this year of 2023. They are a coffee company that's helping you optimize your brain function and overall well-being. This is another product that, to be honest with you, when I first started working with it, I was a little on the fence. I was like, do I really want to have mushrooms in my coffee? Well, folks, I will tell you, when I use Neuro Roast, one of the things that has stood out to me the most is I'll back up. People that know me know that I have way too much caffeine, typically. One of the things this year I've done a good job of is cutting out alcohol. Not completely, but predominantly, I don't touch a lot of alcohol anymore. What I think I've actually done the other way, though, is add a lot more caffeine. So I do definitely drink too much caffeine. That's something I need to work on next year, is just trying to minimize how much of that. But Neuro Roast is something that has actually helped me because of the way they've formulated their coffee. Like, unlike regular coffee, which is, still something I consume, but Neuro Roast specifically doesn't cause jitters or crashes. Mushroom coffee provides a more balanced and sustained energy, allowing you to stay focused and productive throughout the day. So the times I do use Neuro Roast, I'll be honest, I just don't feel that jittery, like, I'm jumping out of my chair or standing here at my desk jumping around feeling. So give Neuro Roast a try. They have some really good flavors. I'll be honest too, the two guys that started Neuro Roast are just really good dudes based out of New York, and they're hustling, and hopefully they can get some people to try Neuro Roast this holiday season by listening to this podcast. So for you folks who've been on the fence, I'm telling you, it tastes delicious. They've done a fantastic job of making this coffee not only be functional, but taste fantastic. And if you want to try Neuro Roast, you can use code ShaneWhite. So it's super simple, just Shane White at checkout. you'll also get 30% off. So if you go to neuroroast.com, and once again, I have added that to the show notes. So just click into the show notes while you're listening to this episode. You can click on NeuroRoast link directly. Don't forget to use code just Shane White, and you'll get 30% off your order. Hope you guys love both these products. I'm trying to not only bring you guys products that I use, but that I believe in on the podcast. I'm not taking ad reads for any brands that I don't really believe in. So anyway, hope you guys love both those products, yourroutine.com and neuroroast.com. I've added those links to the show notes. Hope you guys love it. And I got an awesome guest coming up right after this. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Shane White Show. I am pumped today to have Beck Prime on the podcast from Beck's Broth. Beck, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Shane. I'm excited to be.
Absolutely. For everyone who hasn't heard of the brand or maybe doesn't know of you and your story, would you mind just giving everyone a quick intro to you and what your brand and product is?
Yeah, of course. So I am the CEO and founder of Beck's Broth. So what we do at Beck's Broth is we're just trying to reinvent the wheel, make it sexy, make it fun, and make it taste like something that you've never tasted before in the functional beverage space. So we do a bone broth hot chocolate and then a bone broth coffee. So both products have 14 to 15 grams of protein per serving with extremely minimal ingredients. Our chocolate has 3 ingredients, and then our coffee has just the 2 ingredients. So we just really love to play on the simplicity of foods and making them taste amazing while we're at it.
That's awesome. It was funny when I first saw your product, and I was just telling you the story that me and my wife had when we were at an appointment for her. We have bone broth here at the house. I've always known that it's a healthy option as far as getting protein. I'll be honest though, this is why I was so intrigued by your product. I've never found it it just feels very abnormal to just go like drink bone broth. And so I've never been someone who just like heats up bone broth and drinks it, for example, even though I know the protein's there. So what for you was like this whole beginning of this concept? Like, where can you go take us back to the very beginning of how maybe it was something similar to what I just said, but like, how did you come up with this idea in the first place?
Yeah, I'll take you all the way back. So before I founded Beck's Broth in 2021, I worked in marketing for about 8 years in the consumer packaged good world. So I worked with brands, figuring out their market strategy, their point of sale at retail. So I really got into the CPG space really intuitively right after high school. I had no idea where it would take me. I necessarily didn't say, hey, one day I want to work in the CPG. So I ended up there and learned so much along the way. So fast forward to the pandemic. As soon as the pandemic hit, I kind of took a step back and I was like, whoa, we have no idea what we're in for, but it's kind of it's going to be the long haul. And like, I really need to educate myself a little bit deeper in health and wellness. And I've always had a passion for health and wellness. But then once the pandemic hit and I realized I could work from home, I made it a decision and a priority of mine to go to school to become a holistic nutritionist. Even if I didn't one day follow that path of working with clients, I was like, I need to know as much as I can about the human body and what makes and keeps us healthy in order to protect myself and my family and friends. So I went to the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. I got my designation and I decided to specialize in gut health and then mental well-being, just because they really do tie so closely together. I've always been an advocate for meditation and breath work and really grounding myself. And then of course, when it comes to really healing your body, the first place a nutritionist and a doctor should look is the state of your digestive system. So I thought, why not just start there? Because we're going to come back there anytime I work with a client anyways. So I was focusing on gut health. It was 1 month when I opened up my own practice and I was working with all my clients and I was recommending bone broth for them in their protocol. It's super nourishing. It's easy for your body to absorb all the nutrients. It's rich with vitamins, minerals, collagen, protein, and it's really soothing for the cells that line your digestive system. So it was just a no-brainer. Add that into your protocol. We're trying to heal and strengthen your gut. So I noticed the same feedback coming in from all my clients. They didn't know how to enjoy bone broth, especially on a daily basis. It wasn't intuitive for them to add into their wellness routine, and they didn't necessarily love the taste of it. So it was in a meditation one day, actually, where I asked, what's next for me and my brand and my business? Like, I know I need something more besides just my holistic practice. And all of a sudden the words just echoed in my mind, like bone broth hot chocolate. And I was like, oh my God, bone broth hot chocolate, like that's genius. And that is going to be my next business plan. And since that moment in time, it's just been full steam ahead and hasn't really
Wow.
stopped. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. So I always think it's a cool part of anyone's journey where you have this epiphany that there's a product or a service that you come up with. Obviously for you it's a product.
Mhm.
Always a huge jump from that moment to taking an idea and actually executing on it and then being where you are today, where you're selling a physical product, right? So
Yeah.
do you remember back to step one? Like, did you just run from there and cook up some bone broth and mix it with hot chocolate, or how did you even start the
Honestly,
process?
yeah. So it was really just leaning into the formulation, like, hey, can I make this taste good? Like I knew I
Mm-hmm.
really wanted minimal ingredients. It was super important to me to make this business because it was upcycling a food waste product. So bones just would have went right into the trash anyway. So it was really important that we are taking waste and making it nutritious and kind of giving it that second life. It really played into the sustainability aspect, which I'm very passionate about. So at first it was really just making it in my own kitchen, seeing if it could taste good, giving it to all of my friends and my family. And I just felt with every cell in my body that this was the direction I was supposed to go in. So there's never been any sense of imposter syndrome.
Wow.
It hasn't existed in the journey of Beck's Broth because I just feel so confident and sure that this is what I'm supposed to be working on. And it's been so fun. It's just allowed for so much creativity to shine through. So as soon as I figured out the formula on my own end, I started looking for a commercial kitchen, and then I started learning on how to make the product on my own. So right now, our bone broth is served in individual sachets, and it's a powdered blend that you actually mix with water. But in the first year and a half in business, it was actually, we were doing it in glass jars, and it was a liquid
Oh,
form. So I
wow.
was making all the bone broth and formulating it, storing it into the glass jars. And then I realized it's really hard to scale in the retail world because the jars have a short shelf life. So they would need to be frozen. And I mean, trying to sell a frozen glass jar into a retail space is so impossible. It's heavy. You can damage them really easily. It was pretty much like a nightmare. So I knew the end goal would really be moving to a powdered format that is light in weight and shelf stable. And I knew that that would help us grow. So yeah, it was pretty much just nailing the formula, getting into the commercial space. And that year and a half of doing it in liquid, selling to my immediate community, I think the first thing I ever did was actually put an ad on Facebook Marketplace, being like, hey,
Oh,
neighbors, like
wow.
come and try the products. Like we'll be at the farmer's market. Like I was desperate to get people's attention. And then once I learned their feedback of being like, you know what, this is a great idea. But again, they were like, oh, glass jars, it's heavy. So I got the market feedback knowing that they love the idea of a bone broth hot chocolate and a bone broth coffee. So I knew that I would need to raise the money to be able to have a production run with a co-packer, which of course was just a huge investment upfront. So I did a year and
Sure.
a half testing the market to make sure that the customers were loving it. And then I made the jump to invest all the dollars into pretty much a co-packer now.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's a big pivot too, I'm sure, from going
Mhm.
from, I mean, I've heard that happen to quite a few brands, but
Mhm.
obviously better to do that earlier than later. For you starting with even the glass jars, I would assume that wasn't like necessarily a cheap route. So how did you decide to fund it in the very beginning? Just that's always something cool for people to hear on here. There's so many different ways to do that. Did you
Mhm.
bootstrap it? Did you raise capital? What did you decide to do?
I bootstrapped it. I was still working full time for the marketing company that I was with. So
Awesome.
I was putting in 80, 90-hour weeks. I was just exhausting myself, saving every dollar and being scrappy. Like I was definitely counting my pennies. And I mean, I still am to this day. We haven't taken on any investment yet. We've gotten pretty lucky with some grants that we applied to and received some non-dilutive funding that way. So starting out in the beginning, I probably invested about ten to $14,000 somewhere in there of my own money. So that was like pretty much all of my savings, and every dollar that I got on my paycheck went towards the business. And then when we transitioned and pivoted into the powdered line, that's where I like cashed out my life savings and really
Oh,
just
wow.
like, yeah, I really was like trying to utilize every dollar that I had and got extremely scrappy with the business. Um, yeah,
Do
so
you do you feel like that was important for you and the brand at that time? Because it's interesting, and I'm sure you hear about this all the time. It's such an interesting time for fundraising in CPG, and by interesting, I just mean extremely difficult for most brands.
Totally.
Are you happy now in hindsight? And we'll get into like where you are and the rest of it, but I'm just curious now where you sit today. You look back, do you feel like that was the right decision?
Totally. And I think I needed the homework. I needed to test the water. I need to learn the market. I think that year and a half really strengthened me as an entrepreneur to enter the industry with like almost like a 2.0 model. Like I still, even when people ask me to this day, like, oh, when did you start the business? I almost say like, yeah, like September of last year, I almost just announced like, yeah, like we started when we launched this new product brand. So it's kind of like almost like a second business in general, because now I had what it took to start this other business. I knew where I needed to be. Like I'm a very intentional person, so I knew where I needed to kind of put my ad spend, my marketing dollars. I just authentic communication. So I learned all of that through the first year and a half, and then I was able to show up with the new and improved product, being like, here we are. And I knew the right course of action. It felt like, I mean, of course, to me, there's probably things I could have done better for sure, but just knowing that I did my homework for a year and a half, it really made me feel confident with the launch of the powdered product.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. What was kind of the tipping point? Obviously, I can imagine having retailer conversations would have pushed you over the edge to do the powdered form, but what were some of the big things as the founder that you were dealing with and seeing that people could learn from today that you were like, because I would think for a lot of founders, inevitably what you went through, in my mind, I have a finance background, so it makes so much sense to be in the form that you're in now. But for the average consumer that wants to start a product-based business, there had to have been some enormous speed bumps that were kind of like light bulb moments for you that were like, okay, maybe this form factor is just completely wrong.
Yeah, I was spending, and I've always worked with mentorship throughout my journey. I believe that if you're going to be starting a business and you don't know where to start, the best way is getting help from advisors or mentors. So I've always had a business mentor. Sometimes I've even had three at one point, all helping me in different areas of the business. But one thing that I kept on hearing over again is like, make sure you're not spending all of your time like working in the business. Like you need to be working on the business in order to grow. And back when we were in the initial format of the liquid, I was spending like 25 hours a week in the kitchen, just exhausted. I was making all the product myself. I felt like I wasn't really in the position to hire anybody because I was still trying to figure out truly like what we were profiting and like if we were even profiting at that point. When you're in your own commercial kitchen space, you're just getting like bills are everywhere. I mean, rent is expensive. Your time is expensive. It was really hard to understand the numbers when I was working in my own commercial kitchen space. And I felt like I couldn't really trust anybody in the kitchen because it's working with a really, like I was working with 300 liters at a time of like scalding hot bone broth that was messy and dirty. And I felt like I couldn't train anybody or put anybody else in that position. So it was a grind for a long time being in the kitchen, trying to figure out, is this even worth it? What direction do I need to go? And then I just really leaned into my intuition, and it was just like, okay, we need to invest, or we need to put every dollar into working on this new product because right now this isn't serving me. I'm tired. My body is exhausted. I'm not being put in the good mental headspace. Like I need to work with a co-packer. Like food manufacturing was never an expertise of mine, and it's not a glamorous job in my idea of perfection when it comes to business. Like I'm not the woman for that job. So I knew it was really important to make that pivot. Hopefully I answered your question. I think
You
I
did.
just
Yeah. Well, it's
rambled
interesting, right?
on there.
No, I think it's interesting because I think as entrepreneurs, it's easy to just feel like you need to do everything all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that whole saying around like really tripling down on well, I forget the right, what your genius is. I think I can't remember who said
Yes.
this, but it's like just focus. If you can really spend more time on what you're really, really good at and then build teams around you that are, working on areas that you're not as good, the whole business gets a lot better. So it sounds like obviously food manufacturing was a big piece of that for you. When you made the switch, I would assume too, were you still working full time when you made the switch?
No, so at that point in time when I made the switch, I was working full time on Beck's Broth. So for a
Okay.
full year, I believe. I'm trying to remember the numbers
Well,
now,
the
but I
reason
think
I
I was
ask is
working.
because that to me, if I'm thinking about like the day to day and like your P&L month to month, that had to be a
Mhm.
huge inflection point because there had to have been an
Yeah.
overlap or like a rip a band-aid off moment where you switched products and maybe there's not revenue coming in for a little bit and you're supporting
Mhm.
yourself. So do you remember back to what that time looked like when you were making the switch?
Yeah, I remember. I feel very fortunate to be in the situation that I'm in. I have a very loving husband who has been so supportive since day one. So I mean, like we have a house, we have bills, we have cars. So from the get go, it was just knowing that I had support, and he was like, "Yeah, like quit your job. we had about like a couple of months figured out when it came to like money, when it comes to positioning with like, yeah, like our bills, our mortgage, my kitchen rent, and all the supplies there. But it was that moment where it was like a make it or break it moment. I was like, I knew I could not work in my full time marketing job anymore, my nutrition practice, and then Beck's Broth, because I am about to break.
Yeah.
So it was
Right.
like, you know what? I just need to make this jump. I just need to believe in myself. And I truly did. So, I mean, at the point when I was like, you know what? I'm walking away from marketing to really bet on myself. Like that was the pivotal moment. I was like, I have full confidence that I can make this work, but I need the time and the energy. And I just really believe in like abundance. Like I had that abundance mindset where I knew we were going to be okay, even though we might not have had the money in the bank account or the strategic plan to get us there. I just had to believe in myself, my intuition, and make that jump and pray to God that it would work out in our favor. So it was scary, but it was really just leaning, like betting on myself. It was a huge risk. But so far I'm happy to say that I wouldn't change any course of action that we've done.
No, that's really cool, because I do totally think that most success stories are a combination of either a founder or two co-founders, like really just having your head down and like truly believing without a doubt that what you're building is going to work. And then it seems like to me, and I use this as because I have the similar experience where it's like having a spouse behind you that is bullish on what you're doing is everything, right? Like I couldn't imagine trying to make that jump and them not thinking that it's a good
No.
idea. It'd be impossible.
Yeah. And like if I didn't have his support, or if there was any hesitancy, that's when I think I would probably start to doubt myself. But knowing that I had his full 100% support, it was like, okay, he believes in me. That means that I should believe in myself. Right. So I think, yeah, like having a supportive partner is like everything when it comes to entrepreneurship.
I think that's
Sure.
like a super highly talked about piece of the puzzle that, it's funny. I've had so many people on here at this point that when I do hear those little snippets, I think that's actually a really big piece. Like there's a lot of, I would say like in our CPG space, there's not a ton of founders, there are quite a few that maybe are married or in a serious relationship, but the ones that do and have a really good foundation, I definitely think it's a springboard to driving forward for sure. So you make the switch. When you made the switch, Beck, were you already in retail, or were you just selling online, or where were you selling?
We were in retail, yep. So when we had the glass jars, we were doing a lot of house pickups or local delivery, which was crazy because we had like a case of 12 bone broths, and that's how people typically buy our product. We always just kind of sold by the case. It really helped when it was like trying to make the sales dollar higher than just like a $10 jar of bone broth. It's
Okay,
like, hey,
sure.
we'll give you 12 jars for $100, whatever. So it was like me delivering all around Kitchener, Waterloo, Guelph, Elora, Fergus. So pretty much around within like 50 kilometers of where my house was. And then we were in probably about 13 health food stores local to my area that I kind of just went in and shot my shot with them, being like, hey, put us in your freezer. We're local. We're trying to do something. Like this isn't our end goal. We're trying to build this product, but give us a shot for now. Give us a place to live on your shelves for now. And I promise you, we're working towards a better solution, a better shelf stable product. So yeah, it was pretty much, I think the majority of my sales since the very beginning has always been 80% direct to consumer, like online, and then 20% retail space. It's kind of making that fun shift now, especially as we're growing, which is always fun to see. But yeah, so pretty much just working directly with the customers and a couple of retail accounts. And now I think to this day, I think we're almost upwards of the 100 retail accounts, which has been pretty exciting. We've gotten lucky in the
Congrats.
past. Yeah, thank you. In the past month or so, we've managed to get into all of the Healthy Planet locations, Nature's Emporium. We're now on well.ca. So it's been super exciting to see all of our dream retail accounts pick up the hype of Beck's Broth and want to list us on their platform. So it's been really fun.
That's exciting. Yeah, and for everyone listening to you're Canadian based, correct?
I am Canadian, yes. Yeah, I'm in Ontario.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Some people probably hear well.ca and they're like, wait, what is that?
Yeah, sorry. I should have.
No. I know what it is. It was funny. When we were at our X Bar, I helped with the Canadian expansion. So well.ca was a great platform for us too. That they're great over there. That's exciting. Okay. So are you just in Canada at this point, or have you expanded into the US at all? Are you focusing on certain areas in North America? What's kind of the retail strategy been so far?
Yeah, so we're just in Canada right now. We do direct to consumer through our e-commerce store online. So if you go to Beck's Broth, if you live in the States, you can order our product for sure, and we ship it to you. Free shipping over $50. We're not in any wholesale accounts, like retail accounts in the US right now, only because that comes with its own set of challenges when it comes to like legality reasons and
Yeah.
customs and additional money that needs to be spent there. So we did do a certified export plan. So we do understand what the market looks like and where we want to enter in when we're ready, which I think we will be at the end of this year. We just really, some really good advice that we've heard along the way is like go deep versus wide. Test the Canadian market first, test your neighbors first. Like, I mean, we're still fairly new to the business and we're not having any challenges grow here. So I just really want to be like loud and proud here in Canada first. And then, of course, we definitely have our target market in the US that we want to enter into when we're ready.
It's funny. I've probably said it a million times on this podcast, and I don't own a brand. I've just worked with tons of them over the years, and then obviously at our X Bar. But I believe in that so much. And if you stop and really think about it, for someone who maybe is listening who's never sold a product in retail, going deep versus wide, it just logically makes so much sense. Like going wide, you would think in theory equals way more money. But the problem is it's getting onto the shelf is one challenge, but the real challenge is making sure it moves off the shelf into consumers' hands, right?
Tracking the velocity. Yeah, like you need to make sure that the product is selling. And so it's like almost doing more market research here. It's like, hey, well, is it selling? If not, we need to really figure out what's going on before we ever think about expanding more, right? Or else we can get ourselves into trouble.
And just
So,
like putting the resources in focus on the doors you have for, I don't know if there's a perfect amount of time, right? But, it was funny. And I don't know if I've ever brought this up, but even at our X Bar, like in my experience, I wasn't on the sales team. I just worked and supported them. But, even as we built a team, like as we were getting, almost every door in America unlocked, it's hard to keep up. And like, as you see velocities take a hit, you're like, wait, why? And like it for a small team, man, I don't know. Just thinking as like a business owner, if I put myself in your shoes, like to not stay awake all night and to make sure the business is growing in a healthy way, it makes so much more sense. So what does that look like? I think just to give people maybe a little bit of a background understanding, when you say, going deep into a few retailers, does that mean like you boots on the ground go to these retail locations? Is it like marketing activations? Like what are you as the founder having to do with, let's say retailer X?
Yeah. So right now, I'm lucky. I just brought on a COO who I absolutely love, and she has helped grow the business over the last couple of months and really alleviate a lot of pressure off of my shoulders. I'm more sales and marketing. That's just what I'm good at, right? So she's handling all the back end things that like I just feel like I definitely needed help with. So now I have more time to focus in on growing the retail account. So yeah, it's me going pretty much store to store. It's me sending the emails. It's me calling these stores. First of all, like with the initial, like, hey, this is who I am, giving them my elevator pitch, saying that I really think like they should include us in their product lineup. We'd be a huge asset. But then it's like, yeah, like me constantly driving around, checking in on stores. Like I really focus on building the relationship with those stores and especially the employees that work in the stores because they're going to be the ones selling our product to their customers, right? So I'm just really trying to prioritize those relationships. And of course, like now that I said that we're in about like 100 retail locations, it's really hard to make sure to manage everybody and make sure that they feel supported when it comes to like selling our product. So I'm just really trying to do a good job there, building some sales strategies and touch points and making sure that like it's a seamless transition when they bring on our product and then sell it. I want them to be fully educated. I want them to have the branding assets if they want to put those on socials. I want them to know that I'm there to come in for store demos. I want them to know that I can create content for their social media. So it's really just making sure that the stores feel supported with our brand and product because I really truly think that that's going to help our product move off those shelves and increase that velocity.
Makes a ton of sense. And if I'm in the retailer's shoes and I'm getting the pitch from you guys, the obvious question I have is obviously it's bone broth, and then you're combining it with one SKU's hot chocolate, the other one's coffee, correct?
Yeah.
So where in most retail locations do you find your product? Is it with other bone broths, or would it be with coffee and with hot chocolate?
Yeah, so we've done this testing since the very beginning. So we're combining two categories, which is super interesting and not always straightforward because, we're combining the bone broth industry with now the functional beverage space. So we do find that our product moves better when it's sold with the functional beverages. Like let's just say like Bloom, for instance, or Four Sigmatic or whatever that looks like. Compared to the bone broth. People go to the bone broth aisle, they're not looking for a hot chocolate or coffee, they're looking for bone broth. But if you go to the functional beverage space, they're looking for a coffee, a tea, a latte, something more. So like that's we find that we sell better when we're positioned with the coffee and the lattes.
Are some retailers in Canada, are they expanding those sections in a
I
bigger way?
think, yeah, I think so for sure. It's become such a hot topic lately in CPG. I feel like functional beverages are really exploding. Even when it comes to like sparkling waters, prebiotic sodas, that type of thing. I feel like everybody is just so excited for the functional beverage space because a lot is happening. So I do think that those spaces are expanding.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay. Very cool. And so to date, is it just you and your COO for now? Like just the two of you?
It's just the two of us. I have my best friend who's been our brand director, so he really helps with a lot of the creative artwork when it comes to like social media campaigns and whatnot. He's been incredible there.
Nice.
We just hired on a brand director who starts with us in 2 weeks, which I'm super excited about.
Oh,
We were
cool.
lucky that, yeah, I cannot wait. I feel like it's like our second like huge big girl move in the wellness space, like hiring a first like employee that's going to be on payroll. That's not just me or my partner. So we feel really excited about that.
That's super exciting. And for you guys, obviously making the switch was a huge thing. Growing retail doors is what's like the next couple phases of 2024 for Beck's Broth? Like what are some of the big things on the horizon for you guys?
Yeah, there's probably three really exciting things that we're trying to work towards. So we have a new flavor and a new SKU that we're really trying to launch within the next couple of months. Of course, everything when it comes to product development takes 10 times longer than you initially think it's going to take. So we really
Sure.
wanted to launch it in April, and now it looks like we're probably going to be launching it in June. That's like fingers crossed, making sure everything goes according to plan. So we're going to be launching our third flavor, which is going to be a matcha, which is
Nice.
honestly, I am really
Oh,
excited to
that's
work
cool.
within. Yeah, it fits within our family, and it tastes incredible. So I'm
Totally
excited to
different
launch that.
consumer too.
Totally,
Like,
yeah.
right? Like it opens a whole different category for marketing and everything else.
Yeah, no, it's super fun. So we cannot wait to launch that. We want to, right now we package our product. I don't know if I have any, but it's actually, yeah, I do. Right now, I don't know if anybody sees this, but we package our product in
Yeah.
individual sachets. So then you just put
Awesome.
this pretty much in water. We really want to work towards like a container approach, almost like a 20 serving think protein powder that you can just take a scoop out and put it into a mug without all this individual packaging.
Okay.
The reason why we didn't start there is it was just a much larger investment when it comes to working with our co-packers. Like the minimum order runs were larger, which meant like a greater investment in like all the raw materials up front. So now that we've tested the market again with something like this, now we can really commit to a bigger investment when it comes to creating more of a bulk offering, which is what we really want to do. And then, yeah, I think we're getting into the stage where we're actively not seeking for investment, but getting ready, because we do know that like when you are looking for investment, it comes a lot faster than you think. And you just need to make sure that you're fully prepared. So within a couple of weeks, we are going on Dragon's Den, which I think is like the
Oh,
US equivalent to
congrats.
Shark Tanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So super excited. I think like it's just made us hone into our numbers and our strategy. And we're just really excited to grow. I feel like we have a really fun energy around Beck's Broth right now, and we just really want to take those leaps of faith and see what we can do. But again, like any young entrepreneur knows, like cash flow is like such a huge issue, especially when you're
Yeah.
looking to grow. So that's something that we really want to focus on this year.
So for Dragon's Den, I've watched a few episodes of just brands that I've gotten to talk to on here just to make sure I understand it. I'm assuming I've watched Shark Tank a bunch of times, being in the US. Is it I've actually never talked to somebody on the podcast that like knows they're going on. So for you guys, I know you can't share any details, but I'm always so curious, like when you're going on one of these shows, I feel like you must be like you're ready to get the investment if it comes. Like if someone gives you the right deal, you're gonna end up taking it. That's the whole point of going on
Yeah.
the show, right?
Yeah.
How do you guys even think about that? Like I just think that whole process is so cool. Like you're obviously running your numbers, but given where you are and what you've done to date and you're bootstrapped, I would assume for that show, like that's like they'll be like licking their chops to know that like there's no other equity
Totally.
that's been given up yet. I always feel like when brands come on that have never raised, that's like they're like, oh boy, hold on, let's pay attention
Yeah.
here. I'm sure you've been thinking all about this, but I'm just so curious on like how you think about evaluation, how you think about how much equity you really would be really willing to give up, like how long is that runway? I'm throwing a lot because my mind's racing. I
No,
think it's
that's
so cool.
okay. These are all valid things because they've been running through our brains so quickly as well. So the first step was, evaluating the business, honing in on our sales numbers, focusing on our growth, and making sure that like it is going up to the right, which I mean,
Mm-hmm.
luckily it is. And then we aligned on our goals for the next year, which is pretty much like what I told you. We really want to launch our new SKU. To launch a new SKU is like a $30,000 investment pretty much up front. So that obviously takes money, or takes investment, whether it's just like, you're being scrappy, pinching your dollars, or getting help in an investment or a raise. But then we know that we want to launch the bulk format, and then we want to increase production runs. So we kind of have three different things, three different plans or projects that we would undertake if we were able to receive like a $200,000 investment. And we just make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row and numbers aligned to make sure, like, if they were to say, hey, like, what are you going to do with this dollar? We could be confident in telling them and like kind of homing in on the ROI that will bring us, like, say 5 years later.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much like all just focusing on our goal for like 5 years and trying to like backtrack to figure out the steps that we need to be able to get there.
That's smart. Very methodical.
Yeah.
Is it for the valuation piece is, because you guys are combining a couple different categories. So there's not, unless I'm totally off base here, I don't think there's not like direct comparables probably in the space. So is that kind of just like a magic 8-ball? Like you guys are like, this is what we feel like?
Yeah. So it's been hard, and we definitely need to figure out the value portion. So I just brought on our COO. So we really did a deep dive there to figure out the business valuation, to be able to be like, okay, well, how many shares do you want? And can you afford these shares? Like, does that sound comfortable to you? So we worked endlessly on that for a couple of months with a business mentor, because there's no easy way to calculate a business valuation, especially when we're on the rise. It's only been at that time when we were figuring that out, we had like 4 months of sales under our belt, and like we just knew in our hearts that it would just kind of like go off. So it's really hard to actually like hone in on a number. So I believe for the business evaluation for Dragon's Den, I think we just took our past year sales and I think multiplied them by like 2 or something like that. Okay. So it was you need to have a realistic valuation, or else that's when you go into the Dragon's Den, they'll just eat you up. I mean, you can say, if you're an entrepreneur, you're always going to overvalue your business based on what you truly believe. But then again, somebody's going to, like an investor is going to look at your valuation and tear it apart and be like, well, why the hell do you think it's worth this? Right. So we need to make sure that we had like a reasonable valuation based off of our sales over the past year, and then our projected growth rates, and just try and find a sweet number that wouldn't sound too crazy to them. Because the last thing we want to do is go on TV and have them be like, why the F do you think you're worth that? And us be like, because we're cool, man. So we need to make sure that we
and
get
you do see that a lot. Yeah, you see that a lot. Yeah, is there someone on there that we'd love to partner with? Besides all of them.
I know they're all so great, and they're all are such a wealth of knowledge in their own space. I think Arlene Dickinson would just align with our brand really well, because she really focuses in on CPG, like our category pretty much. I feel like she's the main dragon that our product would work the best with. She knows how to scale these businesses. Like, her world pretty much revolves around like food and bev, I think. So I think she would probably be the best one to partner with. So we shall see.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, best of luck. That's such a cool process. I'll be excited to see it. Do you have any idea when it airs?
No. So we filmed for it May 10th. So it's coming up.
Okay.
I actually have a call with the producers right after this podcast. So it airs then. And then it's still not 100% guarantee if we get on air. So they film it on May 10th. And then if we just kill it, if we bring some good energy to the show, I honestly don't really have a doubt that we won't be aired. I think we have a really fun story and a fun product, and I think we're just two passionate young entrepreneurs that are just ready to take on the challenges of the industry. So so we don't know the date yet, but as soon as we do, I'll let you know.
No, that's exciting. We'll definitely keep an eye out, and we'll reshare it when when it's live. That'll be awesome. So obviously hiring people, you made a product change. This is big news for you guys. What are like other goals this year as far as retail? Like, it sounds like you have door goals. Are you guys going to try to be on Amazon or, Walmart.com? Are you trying to do anything else in the e-com space outside of D2C?
Yeah, I think we really want to try. We do want to get onto Amazon. So we've had a couple of calls with some mentors and coaches that really like know that space. And I do think based on, since we are a premium product, based on our units right now, so you can buy a 12-pack of our unit for like, it's like $100, but I think the sweet spot for Amazon is that under $50 purchase point. So pretty much we need to create a carton, like a 5-pack carton for our hot chocolate, and then that's, I think, what would sell the best on Amazon instead of our 12-pack. So, but again, right now we're just trying to take on what we can take on. So definitely Amazon is in our forefront. We just need to make sure that we can obviously invest the dollars into creating a new pack and doing all that research there. So
Sure.
it's in our vision. It's just when we can have some capacity to do that.
Yeah,
'Cause again,
absolutely.
we want to make sure that we're going to fully like excel at like our project. Like I feel like one thing that can be really confusing to entrepreneurs at times is there's bright and shiny objects everywhere, and the people can get so just like all over the place and not do a job well done because they're trying to juggle a million balls. So we just really are trying to prioritize a couple of things at a time, making sure that we don't run into any errors, making sure that everything's going smoothly and successfully. And then, so definitely on our radar, but we're not working on that just yet.
No, it makes sense. That's my world, e-commerce in general. So I always love to ask, because I mean, especially with the sachets, the economics make sense. That category in general, just like high protein, people looking for cleaner items is just growing so quickly. So I'm sure that eventually will be a huge opportunity for you guys. What about the US? I have to ask that. Do you guys, it's funny. I say that as a US based person and working with a lot of US based products. Canada is always one of those big, bright, shiny things that actually, like, a lot of times in my experience has been like, okay, there's so much in the US, like really like take your time, build out the US and then go into Canada. Is it the same on the Canadian side? Is it kind of like, hey, like there's a lot in Canada, like let's really focus on Canada before we even think about going into the other side, because the US is enormous, just like comparatively.
Yeah, we've heard mixed things. We ran into a couple of other food founders where it's just like, you know what, let's just bypass Canada in general, go right into the US. Their market size is enormous compared to Canada, right? So we definitely want to get there. I mean, like, I think our product would move really well in like LA, New York, Austin, Texas. Like those are our main big hubs where we've been doing a lot of market research. So we definitely want to see ourselves over there soon. But it's just, trying to make the right strategic decisions before putting so much investment into trying to cross the border. We don't want to get ourselves not in trouble, but we don't want to just invest too much where we're not able to really focus all of our time and energy. So that'll come. And I do think it'll come hopefully by the end of the year. But for right now, I feel like we're just trying to handle what we can.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I'm throwing a lot at you here. There's just so much opportunity.
We're still just a team of two, so we're trying.
Yeah, no, that makes tons of sense. It's so exciting. So I think doing a flavor extension and obviously launching matcha, that's a huge undertaking too. Do you have any philosophies around, we already kind of heard, distribution and trying to, really take your time and make sure velocities are there. What's your guys' thoughts around just flavor extensions and growing the brand that way through innovation? Is it kind of a similar concept?
Yeah, I think a similar concept. I mean, as a brand, you never really want to have too many SKUs where it's hard to track the velocity of what's selling better and why. And so there's a lot that goes into it, because some brands have like 8 different flavors and then they have different sizes. So then of course that's just so many different SKUs, where sometimes it's kind of nice to knit it together in a fun little package where it's like, no, we have 3 hero products. I mean, like that, those are our flavors. And it can just like really help us hone in on the way we sell our product. And of course, we'll listen to the consumers, see what they're saying about them, to see if we should have another line extension. But I don't think it's our main priority right now to get so many SKUs. I think we just want like 3 good hero SKUs. And then maybe we'll focus on seasonal SKUs in like the next year. Like maybe we'll bring out some fun Christmas flavors, like a peppermint hot chocolate or something like that.
Yeah,
we really do want to do something in the herbal space, maybe even working with like a turmeric latte or something like that. So I think that's probably like a goal for 2025. But right now I think 3 hero SKUs feels pretty good to manage. And I feel like it really enters in, okay, like there's tea lovers, chocolate lovers, or coffee lovers, and we're kind of hitting all those. So for right now, we feel really comfortable with that. We just don't want to lose sight of the overall vision if we try and bring on too many SKUs at once, especially because like it's crazy even to like get production runs in order when it comes to all these large volumes. I mean, it's such a huge investment, and it's a huge, like it makes your cash flow really, you need to put a lot of work into making sure that you have enough cash flow to even support multiple different SKUs with the amount of production runs that we need to do. So it's just, she's an angry beast,
like it has to just make everything, it's almost like every time you add a extension, I'm sure it just almost like multiplies the complication of the operation side, right?
Yeah, because it's just like thinking about like, okay, well, you can spend maybe, let's just like say like $2,000 to design a new label or packaging, for example. But then you also need to have a new photo shoot that revolves around that, and a day photo shoot can be like $3,000, and you just need to make sure everything's like balanced. So it's like those costs just add up so quick, and then you need to make sure that you're not forgetting about your other hero products. So I think we do a really great job of balancing the chocolate and the coffee right now. But then, yeah, as soon as you bring other SKUs, it's so much more money and just trying
I'm
to
sure.
manage. So yeah,
And I'd be
it's
curious
tough.
too. So a brand, I would consider you guys like obviously a brand that launched around the COVID time.
Mhm.
How important, this is a question I really haven't asked for many people on here. How important has social media been for you guys? Is that still as big of a launch pad as it used to be, like in the
Oh my God,
mid-teens?
it's my best friend. It is
Okay.
literally
Okay.
my best friend. So, and which can be scary at times for sure. I mean, there's always that fear that maybe social media will just disappear one day and poof, there goes everybody. That's the importance of like obviously capturing our emails for email marketing and whatnot and roping
Sure.
them in that way. But I think that's the best part of our story. So my biggest passion is storytelling. So I show up on social media pretty much daily, letting our customers know what's going on with the business. So we don't just offer, I feel like, a product business. Like I feel like every single day, it's like I'm really letting them into what it takes to run a business.
Oh,
And I
that's
feel like
cool.
there's like a lot of support there. So they see everything behind the scenes. They see when we're dealing with challenges, they see the highs, the lows, which makes them like we have the best community. Everybody is so supportive, and just like the amount of like the flood of support and love we receive every day from people sending in messages or voice notes or just writing reviews, like it's so authentic and it's just so enjoyable to see and be a part of. Like even we yesterday posted on social media, like I just showed up and I turned the video camera on and I was like, hey, like we need your help. Like we're going on Dragon's Den next week. We're trying to increase our business valuation right now, which means that we need to really beat our sales numbers for this month. Like if you guys are new to the space or if you guys have been OGs, like we're offering a discount, like put your order in now. And the amount of support that we receive from just even that asking that one plea of helping, like, hey, like help us get to our like achieve our goals right now. It's enormous the way that people want to support you. They feel like they're just a part of the team and the journey, and that has just been so special. So it's just more so like social media is one thing to somebody who's like not really in business, but to an entrepreneur and a business owner, like social media is this community that is just so filled with love and support, and it's just such a nice home for our product to like be able to share its voice. So yeah, I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, storytelling. I said this. I don't know how many years ago it's been. I've had Jake Carls on here a couple times from Midday Squares,
I've listened
and
to your podcast.
oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
great.
you've had great people on your
Oh,
podcast. I was
thanks.
actually just
Thank
listening to
you.
the one with Shane from Mudwater. I feel like he's an idol of mine, so it was a great
It was
chat.
funny, just like he's the only other Shane I've really ever met. It was just funny to have him on because I told him when I had him on too. I was like, I've seen you on Instagram like 5 million times, so it's so
Oh,
funny to just sit here talk to you. He's a great guy, very
yeah,
very dialed into what he's doing.
yeah.
But it's funny I say that because I remember when Midday Square started coming onto the scene, I made a bet. I said it on here even. I said I'd be shocked if in 5 years that's not like a really common thing. Like
Mhm.
it just makes so much sense. Like
Yeah,
if you're an average consumer, like the reason to click and follow, no offense, but like to follow a brand it's kind of a questionable thing.
totally.
It's like why are you following? You wouldn't want to follow like every food item you eat
Mm-mm.
necessarily.
Yeah.
However, if the founders are telling the story and it's like it's no different than turning on Netflix or following your favorite YouTube channel, like you're learning
Mm-hmm.
and watching and it's a story you're following, then it makes all the sense in the world. And then obviously you're going to
Totally.
purchase and you feel like you know the person to a degree because you're following along their story. So um, bravo to you guys. That's awesome that you're doing that. The reason I also brought it up, just because I think you're the first person I've had on here since it kind of popped up, but all this TikTok stuff, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys doing much on TikTok? For I guess ask you that
We're
first.
not doing anything right now because I feel like that's a beast. So I'm sure that
Okay.
will come. We're looking to hire right now just like an in-house like UGC creator. So I'm just
Okay.
gonna let somebody else handle that because yeah, that's a beast.
Yeah.
And of course, like we need to be able to support the sales that'll come in from TikTok. So right now we're
Sure.
at a very steady growth where I feel like once we're ready to be scared with that enormous blow up, then we'll really hone in on the TikTok.
Well, it makes sense to what you were saying because the reason I brought it up was just all the stuff in the U.S. where they potentially want to ban it. It seems like
Right.
there's so many
Yeah.
businesses. Like, what a holy cow! If you've spent a lot of time and energy, and that's a big sales channel for you, what a bummer that would
Mm-hmm.
be. Not a bummer. I mean, it would be a disaster. So,
Yeah.
that's wild though. No, it makes sense. I feel like any brand today, and do you guys feel like you've done mostly organic type
Totally.
posting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you getting into the
Yeah.
hand of influencers at all, or do you guys do any of that?
We've worked with some. Since I am a holistic nutritionist, there's a lot of nutritionists that I've known from practicing or just being like a part of the same social world. So pretty much we find it best when like they'll just buy the product and recommend it to their clients. So we really haven't spent any marketing dollars with influencer marketing. I think probably about like maybe $1,500 since the very beginning. And that's just been for like detailed nutritionists talking more about our product.
Okay.
But a lot of our growth is just organic. We haven't invested any marketing dollars pretty much into the business just yet, which has been really nice. I feel like our biggest focus is just like dialing into like wellness events and stuff like that. And then it's having these places that are really big in the wellness space share our product. Because then it's like, oh, well, Beck's Broth is here. Hey, now we sell Beck's Broth. And it's all these wellness people that are just trying to jump on every health shit where it's just like, okay. Like, so it's a really great strategy for like free marketing and then connecting with the community. So right now I feel like that's been serving us a lot better than trying to dabble in the influencer marketing world, just because that's something where I don't necessarily excel. So I know that'll come, especially with the new change of like hiring like a marketing director and having somebody else help out and guide that. But
I'm writing something down really quick because I just popped my brain. I know another founder of the company's out of the US, but she's Canadian and she's a nutritionist and they have like a bar brand that I'll have to introduce you to. You guys would it'd just be great for you guys to like
love that.
Know each other, I think, in general. Really, really cool, Beck. I'm really pumped for you. I'm obviously I'm really interested to see what the next year looks for you guys. As a finance guy interviewing you, making the switch to me was brilliant. I think that's going to bode you guys so well for the future. For everyone listening today, everyone that listens to the podcast knows I have a few questions at the end, so I want to make sure I ask you these. So the first one is just source of knowledge. So for anyone listening to the podcast today, something, Beck, that you've either listened to, read, it could be a book, a magazine, a podcast, just something that pops in your brain right now that you think the audience should know and pay attention to.
Yeah, a huge source of inspiration in the beginning when I was just starting Beck's Broth, really trying to push the sales, was actually the Midday Squares podcast. I don't know if they're recording it much anymore, but in the beginning, they definitely have a ton of episodes that are fun to listen to because you can listen right from like all the leaders, the 3 of them. But they just share so many golden nuggets. So in the beginning, when I was in the kitchen, they were just in my ears nonstop through their podcast. And I learned so much, which is again, why I prioritize storytelling and connecting with the community. So yeah, everybody check out the Midday Squares podcast because it's fire. Yeah,
I'll link that. That's a great. It's funny. I don't think they have been posting. Which I told Jake, I was like, I know it's hard. I know you guys have a bazillion things you're trying to do.
Yeah,
but I'm like, you guys should just do like 30 minutes a week. Just throw it on the calendar and keep it going. Because I agree, the 3 of them do a really good job together of just being open and honest. And I loved it too. It was one of my favorite podcasts when they were doing it consistently. So if any of them are listening, Jake, you need to get back on there and do it. All right, then this next question, this is honestly my favorite question, Beck. It's what tools do you put around you to get shit done? So when you think about, big, broad goals for you as a person, annual goals, work-related goals for Beck's Broth, all the way down to just like the stuff you're getting done today. Are you a pen and paper person, calendar blocking person? Do you use apps? Just for everyone listening to kind of give context to someone who's running and building a brand, what tools do you use?
Yeah, so the biggest tools that I use, I'm a pen and paper girly. I love writing out my to-do list. If I wasn't sitting on the ground in my yoga room right now, I would show you my office, but all around my computer are sticky notes. And it's things where it's like, hey, like do this today or focus on this, or like quotes that like I want to work towards. Like we've always had sticky notes with our favorite retailers that have been on there, and I stare at those names every single day. And I feel lucky that we've been able to get into 5 out of 7 of them, and the other 2 are in the US. So I feel like it's really the power of belief of writing your goals down on a piece of paper and staring at them daily does wonders when it comes to like abundance or manifestation or that type of thing. But so I always try and again, my previous world of marketing, I was a project manager. So I feel like I know what it takes to kind of start a project and finish it. So I'm constantly just making sure that my workflow is organized. So writing my to-do list, making sure that I also reflect on what I've accomplished throughout that day so I don't get discouraged when my to-do list is a million things long. So just making sure that I'm reflecting on my growth over the week. And then, just networking. I feel like they always keep me on my toes when it comes to networking, because then I feel like I'm not getting lost in my own journey. It's like I have people around me to hold me accountable to what I say I want to do.
Sure.
I don't know if I answered those.
No, that's great. Yeah, for writing it down, do you just have like a plain piece of paper? Do you use like some sort of planner? Do you have what do you recommend there?
Plain Jane. I'm honestly such a simplistic girly. I just have my square sticky notes and then like one of those yellow pads of lined paper, and that's all I do. I have a Sharpie, and then I have like one of my favorite pens, and it's just like I feel like I can be really simple with it, and I know it'll get done. Sometimes I've tried to implement like organizers or like just like daily planners and stuff. And I feel like it's a train I hop on for a week and then I fall right off. So it's never been something that I've been actually like easy to implement into my daily life and have it stick. I'm definitely a calendar girly as well. Like, I mean, like recording all, like making sure all my meetings are in my calendar on my laptop, like that saves my ass, but I never really block out time to accomplish things. Maybe that's something I should be focusing on. But right now, pen and paper, blank sticky note, throw it up on the wall. And then I make sure to look at my wall, and my wall's right above my laptop, so I can always see what's staring me in the face that needs to be like accomplished.
Like that a lot. It's funny. I'm one of those people that I probably am. I like to think of myself as like a productivity, just like I'm obsessed with that, which is also not great. I've tried everything. And so it's interesting to hear that. And it's funny. I would tell you 99% of founders that have been on the podcast have said exactly what you said, and to some degree, like just pen and paper, simplistic over everything. I am trying more of the calendar blocking thing right now. It's been an interesting test. I basically have been doing like even emails, like client emails that are coming in or Slack. If it's something I have to like spend time on, it just goes directly into the calendar somewhere. It's been interesting.
Which is great because you're setting yourself up for success. Like I should really try and bring that into my routine as well.
It's a little early. The one thing I'll say, which just for everyone listening, because I think it's cool to share this while I'm in the middle of trying it, is especially things for other people. So like clients for me, I can tell someone like, hey, I blocked time tomorrow morning to work on this. And if tomorrow morning comes and something a little more urgent pops up, I see it. I can then be like, hey, I know I'm going to move this on my calendar. So then I can reach out to them and be like, hey, I'm really sorry. Like I'm going to have to actually do this later today or on Monday. It's actually helped me to like not drop balls and not feel stressed all the time that there's something on my piece of paper that I didn't realize was due soon. And then I'm scrambling.
Really
but
nice.
again, I'm like week 1 into trying this, but
I heard follow up with you in a month.
Yeah, exactly. It could just get overwhelming in my calendar too. I think simplicity is best though. Less is more with that kind of stuff.
One thing that I do love, just to kind of piggyback onto like my sticky note situation, which I've just felt so rewarding is at the end of the day, or like when I accomplish something like on a sticky note, because each sticky note gets like one task. I don't really harbor multiple things on a sticky note. And then I rip it off and I crumple it and I throw it on the ground. And I don't pick up those sticky notes until the end of the day. And then when I leave my office today, I can scoop up all my sticky notes and just be like, yes, like this was
that's cool. So you have like a physical, tangible way of knowing like there was progress made today. That's really cool. I think there's something to be said about that. I'm sure. Yeah. I've used this full focus planner for years. It's something kind of similar. You at least pick like 3 big things for the day. And then at the end of the day, you write down one daily win. And I know for me, like mentally, from like a mental side of things, it's really like, even if it's not something drastic with my work, it could just be like great podcast, just something small. And it's cool. Like on Sundays, I reflect on the week and I look through that and you see, 5 or 7 wins during the week that I would have tawtally forgot about probably.
Totally.
That all helps.
Keeps you motivated.
Just builds momentum.
You motivated. Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
Yeah,
builds momentum as an entrepreneur for sure. Well, awesome, Beck. Last question and most important is just where can people find your product? How can people follow you and the brand?
Yeah, so I would definitely say Instagram is where I pretty much live and breathe right now when it comes to communicating with my community. So you can follow us just at Beck's Broth. And then if you are based out of the US, just go to our website, becksbroth.com. I can even give you and your listeners a little discount code if they do want to use it. So you can put it into the show notes later so they can save 20% off our product. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. becksbroth.com right now. And then our Instagram.
Awesome. We'll add that to the show notes and everyone take a look at the show notes. We'll share it out. Very good. Well, Beck, thank you so much for the time. Best of luck and let's stay in touch. Can't wait to see how the rest of the year goes.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure speaking to you.
You too. Thank you.